Washington with the latest news on the tariff front, and Megan Costella has the details. Megan.
The latest of a series of new letters to trading partners has threatened a 50% tariff on Brazil. It's an
set by President Trump to introduce trade tariffs on Canada and Mexico.
Have you noticed your grocery bill creeping up? That the new car you've been eyeing just got a little more expensive? Or that your favorite store seems to have less on the shelves than usual? You're not imagining it. A high-stakes trade war is brewing, and it's already starting to hit your wallet. While politicians are trading blows over something called tariffs, the fallout is quietly tanking the market, threatening jobs and making everyday life more expensive. In fact, some analysts predict that proposed auto tariffs alone could jack up the price of certain vehicles by as much as $10,000. This isn't just about politics, it's about your money. And we're just getting started. So, how did we get here? And what does this political chess match actually mean for your job, your savings, and the price of everything you buy? The problem? A political battlefield. It all boils down to one word: tariff. A tariff is just a tax slapped on goods imported from another country. The theory is that it makes foreign products more expensive, encouraging people to buy stuff made at home. Recently, Donald Trump has proposed a sweeping new set of tariffs, including a baseline 10% tax on pretty much all goods coming into the US, and even steeper penalties for countries like China. But a trade war is never a one-way street. When one country throws a punch, you can bet the other is going to punch back. And that's exactly what's happening. Our closest ally and one of our biggest trading partners, Canada, has entered the fray. The response from north of the border has been firm and direct. Canadian officials like Foreign Minister Melanie Joly have made it crystal clear they won't be pushed around. Canada has already announced it's hitting billions of dollars worth of American goods with its own retaliatory tariffs. We're talking about products you see every day: orange juice, appliances, motorcycles, and cosmetics. This isn't just a political spat, it's an escalating economic conflict. Prominent figures like Mark Carney, a former central bank governor and a major player in Canadian politics, have signaled a united front, stating that Canada will stand up to what it sees as a bully. Behind the scenes, leaders are reportedly talking, but publicly, the battle lines are drawn. It's a high-stakes game of economic chicken, and caught right in the middle are companies, global supply chains, and most importantly, you, the economic shocks. To see how this affects you directly, let's break down the economic fallout. This isn't just abstract theory, these are real-world consequences. The price tag on everything goes up. Here's the bottom line on tariffs. They are a tax, and that tax almost always gets passed down to you, the consumer. Whether you're buying a new washing machine, a computer, or even just your weekly groceries, a huge portion of those goods, or the parts to make them, are imported. When a 10% or 25% tax gets slapped on those imports, the company selling them isn't just going to eat the cost. They pass it on. One study estimated that a 10% universal tariff could cost the average American household over $1,200 a year. That's money straight out of your pocket. Think about the products already facing retaliation from Canada: appliances, furniture, and even certain foods and drinks. This means the price of both U.S. goods in Canada and Canadian goods in the U.S. is set to rise, creating more inflation on both sides of the border. If you thought inflation was already a problem, tariffs are like pouring gasoline on the fire. The automaker apocalypse. What do Ford, General Motors, and Stellantis, the company that owns Jeep, Dodge, and Chrysler, all have in common? They are directly in the line of fire. The auto industry runs on complex supply chains that zigzag across North America. A single part might be made in the US, shipped to Mexico for assembly, and then installed in a vehicle at a plant in Canada before being sold back in the States. The proposed 25% tariffs on imported autos and parts threaten to throw a massive wrench into this entire system. Stellantis has warned that these tariffs are creating massive uncertainty, even forcing them to suspend their financial guidance for the year. Ford's CEO has been vocal, stating that these tariffs put American companies at a disadvantage. Automakers are sounding the alarm that these added costs, potentially running into the billions, will ultimately be passed on to consumers through higher car prices. They've also warned that if these costs become unsustainable, it could lead to production slowdowns and job cuts down the line. This isn't just a pothole for the industry, it's a potential sinkhole. Your job is on the line. When massive industries like auto manufacturing start bleeding money, it sends ripples across the whole economy. The math is simple and brutal. When a company's profits are squeezed by billions in new taxes, they look for ways to cut costs. And often that means jobs. Economic analyses have warned that sweeping tariffs could put hundreds of thousands of U.S. jobs at risk. While a few manufacturing jobs might get a temporary boost, that's often outweighed by job losses in other areas. Think about it. U.S. agriculture is facing retaliatory tariffs, making it harder for farmers to sell their crops overseas. The service industry, a huge U.S. export, also becomes a target. And with all the uncertainty, companies everywhere might decide to pause hiring, slash investment, or even resort to layoffs. This trade war isn't just a headline, it's a direct threat to job security for millions of Americans. The stock market's panic attack. Wall Street hates one thing above all else, uncertainty, and a trade war is the definition of uncertainty. Every threat of a new tariff or retaliatory strike sends shockwaves through the financial markets. Investors get spooked because they have no idea how these disputes will affect corporate profits, supply chains, or the global economy. This volatility directly hits anyone with a 401k, an IRA, or any stock market investment. Your retirement savings can take a beating as markets dip in response to escalating trade tensions. The mere announcement of tariffs has been shown to make markets sink as businesses brace for disruptions and nervous consumers start closing their wallets. This isn't just a game for Wall Street traders, it's your financial future on the line, your wallet under siege. So let's connect all the dots. What does this really mean for your day-to-day life? It means the economic ground is shifting right under your feet. That proposed 10% universal tariff is basically a stealth tax on your life. That new smartphone or laptop? It's built with parts from all over the world and tariffs will drive its price up. The car you need to get to work? Whether it's an import or made in the USA with foreign parts, it's going to cost more. Even your grocery bill is at risk. Retaliatory tariffs from countries like Canada and Mexico target American farm products, which can disrupt the market and cause prices to fluctuate at home. Beyond prices, there's job security. The anxiety created by a trade war makes businesses hesitant to invest and grow, which slows down the whole economy. Studies suggest a prolonged trade war could lead to a drop in GDP and real wages, meaning less money in your pocket and a weaker economy for everyone. This isn't some distant political debate, it's a calculated pressure campaign where your personal finances are the battleground. The idea that tariffs are a simple magic wand to protect American industries just doesn't hold up. In reality, they're a blunt instrument, a tax that messes up global supply chains, spooks markets, and ultimately lands on the consumer's shoulders. While politicians like Trump, Carney, and Jolie trade soundbites, the real casualties are starting to emerge. Struggling companies, nervous investors, and everyday people facing higher prices in an uncertain job market. This isn't about winning a political argument. It's about the very real economic pain that's already here and set to grow. The big question now is, who will blink first in this high-stakes game of economic chicken? And how much more will it cost you before they do? Staying on top of these rapid economic shifts is more important than ever. If you want to understand how these decisions will keep impacting your finances and stay ahead of the next curveball, take a second to hit that subscribe button. It's the easiest way to stay informed. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think these tariffs will ultimately help or hurt the economy?